Crypto prices are down today, but tomorrow is something very big. Yes, Hong Kong's ETFs for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, spot ETFs, will be going live. Do you think that will be bullish? Is this simply the dip before a massive bounce based off that news, or will it be a nothing burger? We also have some news about Avalanche, Helium, and a couple other tokens you do not want to miss. Stick around for the entire show. At the end, we will be giving two of our lucky Discord winners $100 for our recent growth. We're over 15,000 subscribers now. It's going to be a great show. Stick around for the whole thing, guys. Let's get that intro going. RDXRP1 T-Shroom says, sea of red today. Ouch. And that's a pretty decent comment right there. It is a sea of red, not a lot of green. It's crazy. We did get a bounce back because this morning Bitcoin briefly dropped below 62,000, quickly rallied back up closer to 63. But we're kind of hovering now right around that 62.8 level. We gotta sit here and ask the question. We're gonna look at charts. We're gonna look at news today, guys. But do we get a little more of a bounce? That's the daily chart. You guys see the hourly chart. Here we go. Hourly chart coming back down. Got there 61,800, and again rallied to about 63,200. Will that stand? I think T Shroom kind of said it best in when we were talking before the show. It's like, hey, do we have a pump happening tomorrow, or is Hong Kong a sell the news event? We're gonna discuss that today. But before we do, T-Shroom, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim, and I really appreciate you asking. You know, I've been doing better than I deserve for quite some time now. But we got somebody in the chat who I absolutely am notorious for loving this pronounce. Servando Estrada is in the chat,
Estrada. Baby. Good to see Servando in here. I think every now and then I see him towards the end of the show, but getting it in this early, always love seeing Servando here. Eric said Tim's beard is looking bushy. Does it really look that much different than normal? I feel like it's the same. It probably is time for a slight trim. Yeah, you got some stragglers that need to just be cut back. But I don't know if it's that bushy. I think it's doing well today.
I think it looks good, Tim.
I had my morning workout. Again, it was a good weekend, and then I woke up early, got to the gym, thought, usually when you work out in the gym, and once you get into it, you're used to it. You work out in the morning, and it's like the rest of the day you have like that rush of adrenaline. That did not happen for me today. So not only am I still kind of a little mentally tired, I'm also physically tired as well. But I'm going to keep going. Listen, I am not giving up. And anyone who's wondering, is Tim going to give up these morning workouts? No. I'm going to keep going. I put a tweet out. Sometimes I put out tweets. In case you guys didn't know, I put out tweets. Sometimes I need to hear myself. I put a tweet out this morning after my workout that says the key to, what was the exact word? The exact wording was something like, the key to self-discipline is choosing the pain of discipline over the pain of comfort. Listen, comfort is great in and of the moment. When you're sitting on the couch with your feet up and you're watching one of your favorite movies and you slept in till 10 a.m., it might feel great in that moment, but your life is going to be pretty hard. So to me, it's like one of those things like, yeah, it sucks to be disciplined. It sucks to wake up early. It sucks to go into the gym, and even when you don't want to. But ultimately, I am going to prefer that pain that will subside quickly rather than the long-term pain of always trying to be comfortable in life. What about you, P-Shroom? That wasn't even the quote of the day. That was getting us led up to the quote of the day that you're about to give us. But,
yeah. Well, Tim, I learned a lot about pain in the OCS training that I had in the Army. I do not regret my exit from the Army, but I learned a lot. And one of those lessons was absolutely to embrace pain. And I feel as though I embraced pain in that training for the next 5 years. So I have been pain-free since then, and I have been shunning pain. No, just kidding. No, definitely the principle should be applied every day. Always start off your day. I think Joe Rogan talks about this. Believe it or not, he's a big proponent for BROZ science. Can you believe that? He says the first thing he does every day is the hardest thing, which is go get in that cold plunge, and then he spends like 45 minutes in a sauna or something. Go do hard stuff so the rest of your day is easy. I like it. I also like the quote of the day.
it's good. Before we get the quote of the day, I'm that's what I want. Like people ask me in Discord, Tim, what kind of music do you listen to? I've been listening to Joe Rogan podcast when I've been working out now for a couple of months.
Wow.
And I've every now and then it's always good to go back to like the David Goggins
Nice.
podcast and just hear so much good things. But yeah, it's one of those things that's like the hardest thing you've ever been through is the hardest thing you've ever been through. So like if you've like had to go through cancer and you've had to go through your leg broke on a 100-mile jog and you keep finishing, that's a pretty hard life. If the hardest thing you've ever gone through is your Xbox shut off in the middle of you being on level 70, you're in for a rough life if that's the hardest thing you've ever gone through.
Wow.
Ultimately,
no offense to the gamers out there.
Yeah, embracing the suck of discipline and pain. And that's what David Goggins says. It's like embrace the suck. Like just embrace when you embrace the suck. And that sounds funny, but it is what it is. You're able to actually live a more enjoyable long-term life. And then when the hard things hit you, you're prepared for it because you've just always chosen the more difficult route. And it's like some people are gonna be like, "Oh, your life's miserable." No, when you're constantly choosing what's difficult, it makes the rest of your life super easy. So that's something I'm trying to ingrain and get it from up here in my head 18 inches down here into my heart, and I think I'm a little minute away from it, but I'm getting there.
Well, I have flashed several quotes from David Goggins. Suffering is the true test of life. Tim, I think we've talked at length about the quote of the day type theme.
Yeah.
I actually, believe it or not, had a totally different quote of the day, but this is going to take us too far from our normally scheduled programming, so I think we'll just jump into it, and I'll find a way to integrate it later in the show.
There we go. Well, let's get in here, T-Shroom. Let's get in here and check out the markets. I'm going to change it up a little bit. We usually get coin market cap, but as we said earlier, a sea of red. You guys will see the same chart behind me, but we're going to look at this a little closer. This is what we're looking at right now. And we told you guys we're talking a little bit about helium. We're going to look at the charts on helium. One of the very few. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3. Say sneaky over here in the corner of 3.3, but only 3 of the top 100. Oh no, here we go. I think this one's breaking even. Athena or whatever. Athena's breaking even, so it's a 0.7. So we have 4 tokens in the green, but even that, helium only up 5.3% in the last 24 hours. So not necessarily that great. Pendle, 15% red. Maker, Optimism, Core, all in the double digits red. T-Shroom, you're going to chime in there?
Well, I just wanted to jump in and see what bros wanted to know more about Athena. So Athena is like, it's kind of set up to where it's so obvious that it looks like the Terra Luna ecosystem that people are going to like be afraid of it. But I've heard one of the backers, Arthur Hayes, believe it or not, who was the founder of Mount Gox, one of the very early crypto exchanges. Why am I can't think of it right now.
I don't remember either.
But it might have been Mount Gox. But anyway, he was the founder of that, and he's backing Athena. You know, he's really into it. I personally have not bought into this project. It's not one that
he was the founder of BitMEX.
BitMEX, that's what it was. So anyway, let us know, bros, in the chat. Do you want us to do a video on Athena? It is a really, really interesting coin and in what they're trying to do with the stablecoin industry. So
yeah, I think that would be good. We're putting out some good alpha, even in Discord, even if it doesn't end up making a video. Shout out to Crux of Crypto, one of the bros. He is now one of our researchers, and he's been putting out some baller reports on coins. If you guys are not members, you should join the membership just to get into Discord and see some of the blurbs and breakdowns that Crux gives you guys on some of these smaller tokens. And we'll have some videos coming your way. Look for the next couple of days. We have another token we're big on coming out here. Let's take a look at the market as a whole. Bitcoin, let's look at the top 10 here. Bitcoin down a little bit less than 2%. Ethereum 4.9. So even right there, big dip for Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. We don't even have to look at the chart to know that the ETH over Bitcoin chart probably has a nice fat blue candle because I use blue for my bearish candles. But moving on to other altcoins, BNB down 2.5. BNB doesn't make big moves, but it's outpacing Bitcoin there. Solana down 6%. XRP only down actually less than 1%. So far not a gainer because it didn't gain, but the smallest loser in our top 10. Doge is down 0.68. Toncoin's down 5.5. Cardano's down 3.8. We're getting closer, guys. Remember, it was a big deal when Toncoin flipped Cardano and then Dogecoin. Well, they lost back to Doge, and now it is looking like if they don't get their act together, Cardano's going to overtake them again to move back up into that number 9 spot. Toncoin, big rallies recently, but also big dips. That's our top 10. As I told you, again, the bubbles told us not a lot of big movers. And CoinMarketCap just doesn't show us helium. So you're not going to see helium up here, but we showed you on the bubbles. It is the biggest gainer at 5%. But say Eunice said Leo and Athena really, okay, so Monero's in the green. But other than that, it's stable coins, right? So we only have 4 coins in the green today, 5 if you count helium. And so not a lot of green. Could that come tomorrow? Sometimes that happens. And we do have some news. Again, that Hong Kong story. We're going to talk more about this in the news section. But whether or not it's long-term bullish, we'll break down what we think about the long-term effects of the Hong Kong ETFs. But after a couple days of red action, I would not be surprised to see a small spark and an excuse for people to maybe buy into some more coins. Now, is it a dead cat bounce or is it sustainable? We'll answer that here in a little bit. Let's take a look at the big losers here, T-Shroom, though, because there we do have a decent amount. We already talked about Pendle, Optimism down 11%, Maker 11, Core 10, Conflux is down, Arbitrum, Startneck. Again, we're kind of getting this zone of a lot of them down 7, 8%. That's a pretty, you see, as I just keep scrolling, a lot of 7s, a lot of high 6s. So the market as a whole, 7 seems to be the number of completion for these movements to the downside. I'm not saying that these moves to the downside are complete.
Yeah, what are you saying there, Tim?
It's a lot there, you know.
Getting prophetic on us. Ooh.
You know, 7's number of completion here. Let's go ahead and transition here, though, into some charts. We got to start, of course, with the king of crypto. That is Bitcoin. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, we forgot to tell you, especially our subscribers, smash that like button. If you are new, you don't have to hit subscribe just yet. You can if you do like the video, but we got a long way to go for the show. We'll be going until about 4:15, so about another hour or so. Bitcoin continues to move to the downside. I did some TA today earlier on Discover Crypto. I want to bring to your guys' attention, while I still am kind of a fan, and I'm not going to, at this point, make a heavy prediction that Bitcoin drops below 55. I told you guys 55, 56 continues to be a number that I'm watching for downward movement for Bitcoin. Not only is that the take profit from ALGO and the green support cloud, if you were to go over here and look at liquidity, we got some heavy liquidity behind T-Shroom's head sitting right there around $55,000, right? So there's a plethora of reasons to think that 55K is still in the cards for Bitcoin. But as you drop lower, you do have to start asking the questions, well, what if 60K is lost with a lot of speed, and then 55K is lost with a lot of speed? We have an order block down right at 50,000, and I've seen a lot of analysts talk about 51, 50K. That's an area that's interesting. But as you guys know, those who've been watching the channel for a while, I've talked pretty heavily about not only 48K because it was the top of the rally back in January, but of course, that was the resistance back during the bear market. If you were to go back into the bear market back in April of 2022, March and April of 2022, 48K was the top where a lot of people thought potentially Bitcoin had just had another serious pullback and was going to continue to go up towards 100,000. And then we rejected at 48K and went to the downside. Did not see that number touched again for well over a year and some change, more than a year and a half, until January of 2024. We finally bounced off the same level, right? So that's 2 pretty serious touches of resistance. Let me turn this off for a second, at least this one. That's 2 very serious touches of resistance in that zone. Well, when we make our move back here in February, instead of wrestling with that area again and even pulling back down and turning to support, we break through it pretty cleanly, wrestle with 50K, and then make our move to the upside. I'm not saying that we have to pull back, but those of you who have been watching my technical analysis for a while, even if you've just been watching for 1 year, you'll remember something I was hotly debated that people called me a little crazy for. When I said that this big spike in XRP price back in July, the prices would come back down. You don't just blast through this strong of resistance and not at least come back down to retest it. Well, guess what? It ended up being I was too bullish because the price went even lower, and we used that same level several times as both support and resistance, solidifying how absolutely important 55 to 57 cent zone is for XRP. Well, it's the same thing kind of going on here, everybody, when it comes to Bitcoin. We've seen these serious touches twice. When you go back in history, you guys can see this same zone. If I were to bring it further out, several touches of support and resistance happen in this zone. So that tells us that 48K is a very significant level when it comes to Bitcoin price. Well, now you turn on the order blocks here from ALGO. You guys know ALGO is one of the sponsors of the channel, the best trading indicator on the market. You can buy it with a link down below. We blasted through this order block, turning it into what we call a breaker block. This is one of the newer things that I have been using a lot more recently. And it doesn't mean we have to come down here, but even on smaller timelines, those guys who've been watching over the weekend, a lot of targets I called that were hit were breaker blocks. And in this case, we have a daily chart breaker block here at 48K. The weekly chart is also saying the same thing. It gives it a fatter zone, but ultimately what it's saying is coming back down below that 48K level, right in there, that 47.9, give or take, is a zone where there's still a lot of buying and selling liquidations happening, meaning not only does a lot of people who wanted to sell or wanted to buy that couldn't buy in this area, there were people who wanted to sell and there just wasn't enough to sell there either. So those people like it, but ultimately there's a lot of buying levels. There's a lot of people who want to buy Bitcoin for cheap, and this is the zone that they're looking at could be a golden opportunity. So again, I don't want to say that I'm walking away from here. You guys are going to walk away and say, oh, Tim predicts that 48K is definitely happening. I want to see the speed of which the price moves down to 55,000. If the volume heats up during the bearish candles, and we'll go 4-hour chart, right? So this might not happen today, tomorrow, might still be a couple of weeks before it happens. But if the volume starts to really heat up as we approach 55K, that will be a cause for concern. A lot of you guys know when you're looking at accumulation phases, some of you don't know this, but when you're looking at accumulation phases, which I do believe this kind of is, a lot of times the spring, according to Wyckoff theory, doesn't come with high volume. It actually comes with low volume. So as the volume increases as we come to the bottom, it should make you feel like there's a lot of demand at those lower prices, and more than likely price will go down. But if we start to retest some of these lows that we've been at for a while and the volume is small, that's actually a better argument, especially if we drop a little bit lower here. If we have low volume when we hit 55,000, that tells you right there that a lot of this is liquidations of trades, and there's no one really knowing what to do. When the retail investors pause and freak out and they don't know what's happening, that's when the institutions pounce on the weakness of the retail investors. However, if there is a lot of selling, and go back to my chart, if we see the volume go up, that gives the institutions the power and ability to suppress price even further. Because in case you did not know this, guys, when you zoom out and you look at the long-term perspective of Bitcoin, we got a long way to go the upside. And the institutions know this. However, you tell me right now, you tell me about your personal opinion. Would you rather be buying Bitcoin at 60,000? If you had the chance to buy it at 55, wouldn't you choose that over 60? And then if you had the chance to buy it at 48, wouldn't you buy it over 55? The answer is yes. Now, you won't feel good when the price gets down to those levels. You'll freak out and want to sell potentially. But ultimately, if you can learn to get your emotions out of it the way institutions do, they love these golden opportunities. And high volume, I know I've said a lot here, and I'm kind of teaching about how volume works. If there's high volume, that communicates to the institutions, hey guys, we can go even lower and get a better price action for Bitcoin. Let's do it. But if there's no volume, it's just a pause in the market, that communicates to them, hey guys, this is the best we're going to get. Scoop it up now while you can. And you, the retail investor, are freaking out because we haven't seen 55,000 since way back here in February. But they're saying, we just saw 55,000 in February. This is very easy to do. Low volume is their trigger to buy that up and scoot back up to the upside. That's what you're looking for right here, right? So I'm not making a prediction just yet. I want to see what it looks like at 55, but here's what I'll tell you. If the volume heats up as we approach 55,000, I'm going to be probably leaning towards a 48K coming into play. If the volume is low, I think 55 can be defended, and that's where people are scooping up a decent amount of Bitcoin. Let me know in the comments, in the chat, did that make sense, first of all? Did the argument make sense? And second of all, do you agree or do you disagree with that thought? Let's go and look at some of those tokens that we were talking about earlier.
Well, just before you do, Tim, I've actually got a comment, believe it or not. Yeah, so I've been taking a look here at the MACD, been keeping up with it. On the weekly chart, we've actually just gotten a MACD cross bearish. And for the first
Yep.
time since October 16th. We're actually, now the week hasn't closed, but we are at risk of getting our first red histogram there from the MACD on the weekly chart. The other thing too is if you fire up the Bollinger Band, which I love to do, on the weekly, look where this price comes in, $55,000 and change. Now, of course, if Bitcoin were to drop today, that would be the price, it would find some support at. But I'm not saying it's going to happen. But also the other thing too is to think about the trajectories of these. They're not just stable movements here. This would by the time that Bitcoin actually may come and hit it, it would probably still be around 60,000. Given just like the overall trajectory here of both Bitcoin and the 20-day moving average, that is the midline of the Bollinger Band. So that's my comment there. Bearish.
Yeah. And just like I actually did that technical analysis, address that earlier today, but I want to show you really quickly why it might not be the worst thing. It's too early to freak out about this. Let's go to my screen here. This is the MACD. What T-Shrim's talking about is the blue line. I'm just going to keep this really simple. I'm not going to explain to you guys all the details of MACD. Maybe in another video or a course, if we make one, we'll explain this. All you need to know is the blue line, when it's above the orange line, it's very bullish. When it's below, it's very bearish. And you see what we call bull crosses and bear crosses. So if the blue drops below orange, that should be a sign of negativity and it's a bearish MACD cross. Vice versa, if the blue goes above the orange, it's a bull cross, right? So this happened right here, T-Shroom. If you were to zoom in on MACD weekly chart, way back here, we had a bearish cross September 21st of 2020, right? Of course, again, hindsight's 2020, where we're like, oh, Tim, it barely stayed below and then shot back to the upside. But at the moment, that's an aggressive bearish cross. It's not like it'd been going alongside each other and then just barely crossed. That is an aggressive bearish MACD line, blue line, that crossed below the orange. And there probably were a lot of people who sold. Well, remember I said September of 2020. If you had sold during that weekly bear cross, you would have sold the bottom, the last bottom. In fact, a bottom that we have never gone back to that price. You would have sold at $10,000 to never be able to buy back in at $10,000 ever again. Am I saying that we're not going to go lower? No. I just finished doing probably 10 minutes of technical analysis where I told you guys I think 55K, maybe even 48K is in play. But what I want to dispel, in case anyone is learning technical analysis and sees this bear cross and is thinking, uh-oh, bear cross, that means bull market over. Let's take a chill pill for a second and address the fact that we have seen bear crosses historically that actually don't play out to be that bad. In fact, there's so many other things we're seeing here. Yes, our RSI got massively overextended, but look at the stochastics RSI in the weekly chart. Stochastics RSI is actually saying Bitcoin is closer to being oversold than overbought. And that's at setting a higher low. Even if we came all the way down to 48K, we're still setting a higher low. And this actually, I think, is a good topic we got here, T-Shirm. I'm actually glad you brought that up because another thing I want to see cool off that I think is still a little too hot would be this figure right here, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Excuse me. Goodness gracious. We're at 67 right now. And I anticipate with how prices have gone today, this number's going to go down. But if you're asking me, Tim, how low do you think the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index needs to actually get? Well, I'm going to tell you a number you're probably not going to like, but has historical precedence. You guys can see here, historically, we have trickled in these very high numbers that we just got to here more recently where we briefly touched 90 back in March, right? But notice this whole period right in here, this is all bull market. But look at how price shot up all the way to 90 and at one point came all the way down, I think this is during COVID, but came all the way down to like 5. I'm not predicting that Bitcoin Fear and Green Index needs to get into 5, but this is where I actually take a closer look at levels like this. August of 2020, we made it as high up here as to 86. And then even though the bull market took off, we had to cool back down to 40 and get into fear before the bull market resumed. I don't think that that's a crazy thought here, T-Shroom, to see some days and maybe even big moves that really scare the market. And Bitcoin, despite the fact that it won't set a lower low, will potentially see Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index start to push 40, maybe even drop slightly below 40. And then that could be the trigger, the relief to where even though the price is super high, again, 48K is super high, ladies and gentlemen, then you potentially see, all right, 48K, but we're sitting at a 40 Fear and Greed Index. The average retail investor doesn't want to buy, but the average institutional investor says this is the steal of a lifetime. I think that's the kind of triggers that take us off. Just, the kind of thing that we're looking at, this is a time period where way up here, we're sitting at like 80 on the Fear and Greed Index. A couple of days later, we're down at 40, even though the price only went from 12,000 down to about 9,700, right? The price didn't drop that far, but the speed really scared the market. The Fear and Greed Index dropped really low, and that was the trigger to scoop it up before the bull market went parabolic, right? I think we're going to see something similar happen on that level. We will see the Fear and Greed Index go a little bit lower here into fear. Let's see here. I see a comment. El Thoro. Tim said slow volume as in small charts, not a big line straight towards a support level. I'm confused what the question is there, El Thoro. But if I can piece it together in the comments, maybe I'll be able to answer that later. T-Shirt, what were some of the altcoins we wanted to take a look at before we went into news? It's 326, but I think all that was kind of needed. We need some. Today was a lot more education than it was taking a hard look at trying to predict the next move. HNT, otherwise known as helium, probably don't need to see what the weekly chart is saying. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Now, again, we're only talking about a coin that's up 5% today, but it is one that is moving a little different than the rest of the market, T-Shroom. We were just down here a couple of days ago, pushing down towards $3, and the lowest got to about 43 cents. $3.43. We're now back up at 5.73. So any brave soul that went and bought that dip, you are feeling pretty good here. I'm gonna let you know, though, if you should start looking for take profit or should this continue. I will say, I do really like the high volume coming in here. That is confirmation that this isn't just a rebound. The bulls are actually really behind this move. I don't know if you guys will probably know better than me. Did helium just do something? Did they just announce something? Why are people so bullish on it? All I'm looking at is I'm taking emotions out of it, and I'm looking at the chart and telling you what it's communicating. And what it's communicating is that helium bulls have come out here in the last couple of days, and they like what they're. We are hitting the take profit here on the more recent Lux Algo buy order, right? So this is a potential reason if you are a trader of helium to say, all right, it's time to take profit. Like I would just go ahead and say right now, seeing us being this take profit on the daily chart, if I traded helium, if I was watching this chart daily and I saw this buy order, I'm taking profit in this level. If I'm a long-term investor, I think that you continue to hold because again, if you were able to buy somewhere south of $4, you got a great entry on helium if you're bullish on it long term. When it comes to our oscillators here, we are seeing stochastics get a little overextended, but RSI's got a ways to go. MACD's got a ways to go. Even this, I love what I'm seeing here. Another reason you should have entered along, we have all the reversals, not only the green triangle and the bullish divergence, but the bullish momentum and the bullish money flow with all those excessive sellers. The real big suppression of price, they're gone. And this chart's actually showing potential. I told you guys to take profit, but I'm looking at this and saying, I maybe take some. If I had entered a trade, if I'd entered a trade back here when we had like a bunch of signals say we're bullish, let's go in on it, I might take a small profit. But what I'm looking at with the oscillators, the strength I'm seeing, T-Shroom, I'm wondering, and we'll have to check back in on this in a couple of days. We'll test this. This is getting aggressive TA here, guys, right? If I'm trying to make a safe conservative trade, I'm taking profit right now. We hit our take profit. But if I'm being aggressive here, T-Shroom, I'm looking at this order block up here and the red reversal cloud. Look at how bullish the oscillators are, saying I think that there's an outside chance. Helium clearly is trading different than the rest of the market. So I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Bitcoin doesn't look great and the stock market doesn't look great, so therefore helium can't do well. No, again, volume people, helium buyers, bulls are buying. So this could defy the rest of the market and make a potential run up to $9.30. So you would more than 2x your money here on this trade. It's aggressive though, right? So take that with a grain of salt. A strategy that would potentially work for somebody is now that you've hit this good take profit, take out your initial investment. Let's say you enter this trade with $1,000, right? You're on Blofin, the trading partner of the Investing Bros. because you love to support the bros. You put $1,000 into a 2x trade on Blofin. I'm going to take $1,000 out of this trade, right? I'm not going to be in loss, but I might look at this and say, you know what? The charts look like this bullishness could continue. There's a lot of things happening right in here. I don't want to lose money, but if I just gained like an extra $800, it wasn't quite a 2x, but it was close. Let me see if this $800 on a 2x can almost double again, getting up here to $9. That's a strategy I've seen play. It's a little risky, but that's the strategy that I've seen play out and traders use when they look at charts like this. So that's what we're looking at with helium. We have more during Q&A. I think we're going to call it a wrap on TA for
really
this
quick.
second. We'll do more later, though.
On the fundamental side for helium, it's a $900 million market cap coin, and it's IoT, right? Internet of Things. One of the category leaders is IOTA. You notice the IOTA there, but another one that's actually kind of more up and coming, only 116 million by market cap, is XYO Network. XYO is actually one that we've been doing a little more research on. Have a video coming out soon for, so kind of interesting. But that's more the fundamentals there on helium. We took a look at the technicals. It's good to have a little salad with your steak.
Really quick, it looks like we do have some questions here in chat. We probably should address. People are asking about Caspa. I love Bedridden in here, one of our moderators. Shout out to Bedridden. So Crypto Granny, I guess, is responding to. We probably could go in more in depth, but I love the fact that he's calling out Archie. Archie is definitely one of the goats of explaining the bullishness of Caspa. We definitely look at charts from time to time. T Shroom has done a lot of videos talking about how much we love Caspa. So there's a lot of resources out there, Crypto Granny. Bedridden, thank you for helping there.
Oh, what's his question about Caspa?
I don't know what the question is because I can't. Well, let's see. What do you guys think of Caspa? I guess is the place. We're bullish. I just saw Bedridden's response to it and said, oh, that's probably a good thing to read out. Yeah, we're bullish on Caspa for sure.
I'm as bullish. I'm as bullish as I've ever been, especially now that I'm seeing more Bitcoin maxis coming out and talking crap about Caspa. It's nice to see that, because if it's in their mouth, that means that they're seeing it with their eyes, right? They're feeling the need to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, and that's coming from a coin that had a fair launch. So there's literally $0 that can go to marketing. Well, that's not true, but they have a lot less resources when it comes to just like spewing information out onto the internet. So to hear Maxie's talking about it is encouraging. But Tim, you've kind of, I would say, cooled off on your bullishness with Caspa.
No, so when you say cool off, it's one of those is like at one point there was a moment where you kind of thought that Caspa would get into the top 10. There was actually a lot of discussion about like the legitimacy of Caspa possibly making it to a top 10 ranking by the end of 2025, right? So when you think that way and you know how many X's could come on the back of a big number, it makes you extremely bullish. I think in reality, what I'm looking at is I think Caspa is going to be a top 30, top 20 coin. I think it potentially cracks the top 20. That's majorly bullish and is deserving a good portion of my portfolio. But there's a big difference between being coin number 9 and coin number 18, right? We're probably talking about a 2x difference between those two, if not more. So with my early thoughts being, man, there's a legitimate chance Caspa makes it in the top 10. And now I've kind of tempered my expectation and saying, no, let's not put that on Caspa. Caspa doesn't deserve that kind of pressure. I think it's more realistic to think Caspa will become a top 20 coin. And that makes you reevaluate how much of your portfolio wants to go into it. So it's the same thing with a lot of other coins. I will tell you guys, I try to be as honest with you as possible. And you might disagree with my opinion, but I'm going to give you my opinion full out, truthfully, and as best I can. And when I get high on a coin, I'll tell you I'm high on a coin. And if I change my mind later, I'll tell you how I cooled off. I'm still bullish. People think I hate XRP. I still have an XRP bag, just not as big as I used to. I love ICP. I actually have grown my ICP bag. I'm more bullish on ICP now than when I first bought, right? So someone asked earlier, what's our thoughts on ICP? I like ICP. I think ICP is one of those coins that scratches top 10, potentially makes it in there, but I could see that hovering right around number 12, 11, 10. I used to think maybe 18 for that one. So again, my opinion changed. So I have to change my portfolio based off of that. And that's how every single one of you guys should be. Have your expectations of what you think it should be, but always challenge your expectations. Always challenge your thoughts, That's why I encourage you guys to listen to YouTubers that you might disagree with, because you never know if there's a nugget of gold that makes you reevaluate how you perceive something. And you don't want to be the guy with your head in the sand that just is like, no, Caspa's a top 10 coin and Bitcoin's getting to 10 billion or $10 trillion market cap itself. And like, if you have a bullish expectation for something, that's fine. Just be open to changing your mind at all times. If no one ever gives you a good argument to change your mind, then stick to your guns. But I think one of the signs of intelligence, and I'm not calling people that don't change their mind stupid necessarily, but maybe you are. Maybe I am saying that. Because I think it's an ultimate sign of intelligence to change your mind on things and to upgrade your opinions. Otherwise, there's a lot of people that don't do that, and they're going to get wrecked in this bull market.
Yes. And upon coming up with visual graphics that I'm sure you all enjoy, I came across this image of a bunch of people out on the beach with their heads in the sand, which is what people look like when they don't do what Tim just said.
Absolutely should not be doing this. Did you see? This is off topic of crypto, but did you see that? Like, there's like worms and stuff in beach sand right now. There are people who are doing a thing like the classic thing where they bury their head sticking out, so it's the exact opposite. But everything else is underwater, and like they're getting like these like diseases and rashes and things because there's bugs and worms in the beach sand that are getting at them.
You know what I say to that? I'll just keep buying lower.
Yeah. Listen, I'm out here spreading beach FUD. I'm spreading beach FUD.
Papa Guff asked, is H-bar a DAG too? Excellent question. So I would say, over on the Piper Academy, Crux of Crypto put out a video on Caspa. Go check it out. It's pretty good. But no. So a hash graph is different from a DAG, and a DAG is different from a blockchain. Do you need to know what all those things mean to be able to invest in crypto? No, you DAG not. So we're having fun on the Investing Bros. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep.
Yeah, we have one more. We have one more. We have to read a super chat, T-shirt, but then we will get in the stories. It is 3:37, and we got some stories to talk about. El Thoro says, "Keep it up, bros. TA live streams, news, much love." Absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. And yeah, if you guys are new here and you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button, hit subscribe, but also know there's not a lot of channels out there spreading out and giving you guys as much attention as we are. I'm not going to try to say there's nobody out there, but we give you guys a daily morning live show at 9 a.m. T-Shroom goes live for about 30 minutes, and the whole purpose is just to address what's the hot news, how's the market opening. You don't want to miss the 9 a.m.s. Super crucial to start your day. Of course, we have our 3 p.m. live shows, and we're kind of closing the day, so that's awesome. And then, of course, we also usually, not always, but usually have an upload put out at 6 p.m. at night with some TA expertise, maybe some alpha on a coin that the community's been talking about. You don't want to miss a single one, so hit subscribe, maybe hit that notification bell as well, and you guys will not miss a single piece of content that comes out from the bros. T-Shroom, let's go ahead and jump into the news, of which we have a lot.
Indeed. Well, Tim, today's news is brought to you by Who We Trust, which is the folks over at iTrust Capital. You gotta love it. Let's jump in. Hong Kong is stealing the limelight, but should it be? Just in, Hong Kong's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs inflows expected to be up to 300 million tomorrow on the first day of trading, far more than 125 million first day issuance in the United States for Bitcoin. This comes from Wu Blockchain, who's bringing us this analysis. Of course, it's anybody's guess. Wu Blockchain probably knows better than I do, right? But this is quite an estimate. So it's going to beat the ETF on the first day, beat the American ETF on the first day, but I don't think anybody's saying it's going to beat it overall and get that $12 billion AUM in the matter of just 75 days.
Chris, it's communicating they're a lot more hungry right off the bat than maybe America.
Hungry hippos.
Yeah.
I like it. And they're going to be faster. Maybe.
I just want to make sure people know I don't think there's any hippos unless they're at a zoo in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not the right region for hippos.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You keep going with the news. I'll fact check it, but I could be wrong.
I appreciate that, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim is our zoologist and biologist correspondent. Chris Inks chiming in here. We love Chris. He said if he's correct in the Hong Kong spot ETF launch could actually become quite interesting. The more pertinent question, and I agree with Chris here, may be how will the Ethereum ETF launch go? So that is really, really what I care about a lot more because ultimately, guys, Hong Kong is probably only about a 16th of the total liquidity that could rotate into the Bitcoin ETFs compared to the United States. The United States just vastly, far and away, the biggest capital market in the world. But Hong Kong's not small, right? And they're the estimate of having 300 million in the first day, that's possible. Whereas the American domestic ETF only got 125 million. Still nothing to shake a stick at. And it's also, we haven't seen the data. This is just an estimate, right? But I think what Chris is actually pointing out here is that the ETH ETF, this is going to be one of the first of its kind in a major financial market. I do believe that there are a couple Ethereum spot ETFs that have been passed, but they're in like countries, and I don't think it is New Zealand, but a country like New Zealand where it's not all that significant because there's not much capital to rotate into there. So this could be big for Ethereum, and it could be why we saw Ethereum outpace Bitcoin over the weekend, seeing as much as I think it was up 4 or 5% over the weekend, while Bitcoin was mostly flat.
Now, T-Shroom, I got a question about Hong Kong.
Okay.
Because I was doing the hard hitting research. Are there any hippos in Hong Kong? Turns out there's not, but there is articles about buying hippos. Weirdly or not, that comes up with that Google search. Okay. My question is: the 300 million.
Yeah.
Is that 300 million of Bitcoin, or is that 300 million of Bitcoin and Ethereum? Meaning it might be 200 Bitcoin, 100 Ethereum, maybe it's 150, Bitcoin. 150.
That's so not a split. Yeah.
Okay, so did it say in the article, and maybe you said it, and again, my hippo research threw me off. Did they say how much is expected to come into Ethereum?
Nope. I mean, there's probably estimates out there, but this tweet from Radar is just Bitcoin. 125 in the first day for Bitcoin.
But you're sure that 300 million doesn't include both of them? Because the way that reads, Hong Kong's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF inflows expect to be up. So my point here is that,
that's a good point.
The truth is, here's what
I see what you're saying.
More than, even if it was 50-50, that's still more than America. Mm-hmm. And I would expect there to be more Bitcoin. I think there's going to be more people wanting to buy a Bitcoin ETF than an Ethereum ETF. That's just how that should go. But it isn't like we're going to more than double Bitcoins. I think best case scenario, we're like 1.5x what Bitcoins did. And again, I think they see what happened with the Bitcoin ETF. I think that Hong Kong's a little more hungry than the American audience. The other thing is, do you remember the exact day? Do you remember the day that Bitcoin
January 11th?
Put it in chat. January 11th was the exact day it went live.
Yeah.
The 10th wasn't approved. So January 11th, let's just take a look real quickly on January 11th. So this is the candle. Of course, oh yeah, it was the top candle, right? So the day that 125 million went into Bitcoin, let's just take this as aggressively as we can. It brought a 6% increase to Bitcoin's price. Of course, it wasn't the only thing buying Bitcoin, but let's just attribute and say that was, the good scenario. That would mean that, like, I think best case scenario, and you're applying a couple different things here. Maybe Bitcoin, depending on where we end up launching the day, maybe we make a move back up to 67. But I just want to make sure people are thinking like, oh man, 300 million in Bitcoin. It's not going to be 300 million. Let's just call it 200 million. And 200 million in Bitcoin, that's going to send us back to all-time highs. No, that would send us historically right back to, at best, where we just topped out a couple days ago.
Right. And Tim, I'm glad you're saying that, because this is a great time to bring in this poll that I posted. Is the Hong Kong Bitcoin ETF a sell the news event or a real B force? Why didn't it print bullish? That's weird. Most people said bullish, overwhelmingly bullish. So I do think that it's a probably net bullish. I don't think it's going to be bearish, unless there's just a huge flop on the first day. That would probably not perform well for the market. But a question to you, Tim. Isn't looking at the candlesticks for the day that the ETF went live, the ETFs in America went live, not that useful, because just because there was the ETFs getting bought doesn't necessarily mean that Bitcoin was being bought. Isn't that right?
No, well, that candle would have included the after hours when the Bitcoin was being bought.
Okay.
And so, and the point here, T-Shirt, if you wanted to make that same argument, if you wanted to make the argument that it happened the next day, well, the next day was massively bearish, right? The next day we dropped from 46 all the way down to 42, right? So I'm putting this in perspective. I am giving this the most bullish, best case scenario. Bitcoin will go up probably about 6%. That's not what it's going to do. That's if there's no negative factors whatsoever. And I can tell you right now, when you see these lower highs and lower lows, which is what we're seeing in a short time span. Let me turn off some of the noise here, and let me turn off this as well. In this short time span, since this little April 8th peak, lower highs, lower lows, a rally could give whales who want to buy lower an excuse to take some profit, not at 62, but could they pop back up and see 65, maybe get back to 66? In which case, anyone who's like, darn it, I missed selling my Bitcoin at 66,000 a couple days ago. I should have sold. Well, is that potentially going to be a decent little excuse for whales to once again get that 66 sell order? Remember, we say this all the time. When retail misses the boat on an investment, that just sucks. But when institutions miss the boat, a lot of times the boat gets brought back. So is this I liked the option. Is this a sell the news event? Because theoretically speaking, I think there's some people that know that they want to invest in Bitcoin long term, but they want to take profit now, that they're like, man, just give me one more good pump. I'll sell this time. There's smart whales who think that way. I think there might be a bring the boat back for whales to sell and convince all of the retail investors, hey, buy this up. It's such great news. When in reality, historically, that's not a significant amount of number. That's not a significant amount of money that will make us go explosive. It actually, I think it could be a sell the news. I think a pump happens, but it ends up becoming a sell the news event that does continue Bitcoin price down lower, which will keep retail investors confused unless you're watching the Investing Bros, in which case we're covering the philosophy and the psychology of what goes into the markets every single day. The average person will be confused, and institutions will take advantage of your confusion and buy the dip, the lowest dip we get to.
And by the way, whenever Tim's referring to the institutions bringing the boat back, this is the boat that they bring back.
It's a nice one. Yeah.
It's a beautiful golden yacht, not generated by AI at all.
Yeah.
This is an actual photo of the boat.
The lights underwater are pretty cool too.
Yeah.
It's a spiffy boat.
There's a lot that's really cool about that. All right. Something that's not really cool is what's going on in TradFi. Republic First is getting custody. U.S. regulator seize troubled lender Republic First. Sell it to Fulton Bank. Now, this morning I got a little tripped up because I read Republic First. I was like, isn't it called First Republic? And then some of the chatters were like One Republic, and then it got out of hand. But the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, maybe you've heard of it, FDIC, appointed as a receiver, said on Friday Fulton Bank, a unit of Fulton Financial Corp, will assume substantially all deposits and purchases, all the assets of Republic Bank, which is the operating name for Republic First to protect depositors. Zero Hedge chimed in with some funny snarkiness here, said, First Republic Bank failed. Republic First Bank failed. Someone trying to tell us something. maybe the First Republic, we're losing the First Republic here. I don't know. What do you interpret there? What could they be trying to tell us, Tim? Get that tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the beginning of a good joke, and then it just falls flat.
Yeah.
So it's I see someone 3P. You said altcoins are dead. No, they're not. They're gonna bleed, but no, they're not. Ultimately, guys, what has happened to crypto prices every time a bank has gone down? I'm not saying it's going to be good for the economy. I'm not saying that we're not in for some interesting details, but
yeah.
All right, I've been thinking a lot about this. We're going to have an economic problem, even somewhat this year, but it's not. They're gonna the can's going to keep getting kicked, and I don't know how far. But I'll tell you right now that I think we are watching while crypto is bleeding, everybody. We didn't open up today, but we're not watching the stock market bleed. In fact, if you go over here and look at the SPY, it's blue on the day, but in a series, if I go to smaller candles, higher highs and higher lows since the dip back here on April 19th, right? So why I'm not freaking out is because this signals still that a lot of big buyers have faith in the economy. That we're hearing all these negative things, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell you everything's fine and there's no problems whatsoever, because we all know that's a lie. But we are here to invest, are we not? We're here to watch charts, depict what they're trying to tell us, and invest based off of them. And what I'm looking at with the stock market is I'm seeing a continued faith that things are going to work out. And I mean, we've seen reports here. Let's get a little political. I'm not trying to tell you guys who to vote for, but I don't know if you guys have read. There's a lot of rumors circulating that the Biden administration is preparing to transfer power. Even the Biden administration knows that nobody likes Biden, right? Well, guess what happens? More than likely, that means a man named Donald Trump. Some of you love him, some of you hate him, but a man named Donald Trump is probably going to be president for the second time of his career. He's already said he's going to come in and get rid of Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. He's going to put the interest rate where he wants it. Now, you say whatever you want. Ultimately, he's going to do what he perceives is right for the economy to get the business booming again. Those things will be bullish for A, the stock market, and B, for crypto. Terrible for the dollar. Maybe he has a plan for it. Maybe I don't know what the plan is, but I know that what we see happening is there's going to be fake stuff put into the economy to make numbers go up. And we can sit here and say, I don't believe it. No, the economy is terrible and we are all going to die. We can sit here and say that, or we can say, you know what, I'm here to invest. I'm here to buy low and sell high. And whales, they invest on what they perceive the future is going to be. They do not respond. Rarely do they respond to something in the moment. They think about the future. They say, what do I expect to happen over the next couple of months? I'm going to buy or sell based off of that, not based off of solely what's happening today. I'm looking at this chart and I'm seeing them say, hey guys, all these FUD articles being printed, all these stories about how terrible the economy is. I'm going to keep buying. First of all, because the dollar sucks, so I don't want to hold the dollar. But secondly, because they know things we don't know, that the economy is, whether legitimately or pumped up like a balloon, going to continue to move to the upside. It happens every single election year. It's what we're seeing the news kind of lay out, the people that are playing a part of what they want the future to look like. We're seeing them kind of forecast what they're going to do, and the stock market's following them. And guess what, guys? Right now, there's a little bit of a split between altcoins and the stock market. People are going to tell you a bunch of things. People are going to say, oh, crypto's over. This is the reason why the crypto's going down. You want to know, honestly, why crypto's going down and the stock market's not going down? It is literally this simple. It got overextended. Remember all of this time is different? Remember all of the crazy pumps in Bitcoin and Solana and even Ethereum? They pumped so high, so aggressively. When you do that, you cool off. You come back down. You find a new higher floor called a higher low in a bull market. So price going down for crypto does not mean that the crypto bull market is over. Otherwise, we'd also see the stock market going down. We're just seeing a time where there was a lot of fun there in crypto and a lot of people invested in a lot of things and sent prices to new highs that no one thought they'd get to. And now the halving event, which is one of the big bullish catalysts for why we've rallied so fast, is over. We're coming back down to earth. These corrections are a part of healthy bull markets. Don't try to read into the chaos and the bearish opinions of speculative resources. Pay attention to trends, pay attention to whales, pay attention to smart money, pay attention to how the world is operating and who's kind of moving chess pieces. Like it, hate it, or whatever, people are still high on the stock market, high on the economy moving forward, for good or for bad. I'm not going to trade based off of what my personal intrinsic thought is that the economy should be in trouble. I'm going to trade based off of the signs of candles going up or down.
Gotta love it. You got some interesting confluence from data over here with what you were saying, Tim. The Cabesi letter said you can't make this up. The number of articles mentioning stagflation just spiked to the highest level since June 2022. News stories on Bloomberg citing stagflation reached more than 600 on Thursday. I love this kind of data. Tim, go back to your S&P, or you got it pulled up. Yeah. Look at what's happening right here. There's been a V-shaped recovery in the S&P, and this is multi-month chart right here. This isn't just the hourly at all. What's happening right here before our eyes is all of the market manipulators, all of the market makers saying, hey, let's see how far we can get the S&P to come back down, see how long we can prolong the the discount here for the S&P so that we can load our bags. And how do you do that? You don't go ask nicely to the market, say, hey, could you guys just kind of pause your buying? Because what does that tell them? Well, that means that the market's going to see that the big boys want to buy. What you do is you scare everybody. You freak them out. You get blood going in the streets so that people want to go back home and just hodl gold, right? Or buy real estate and things like that. And there's a time for that for sure. But that does not seem to be right now when we're at the very dawn of AI, right? Corporations are reporting higher and higher earnings with each passing quarter. This is a time where there's a high incentive for those who have their finger on media and control media to try to convince you to sell assets on the stock side and on crypto side. Now, that isn't to say that there isn't complete crap that exchanges will try to sell you on the stock and the crypto side. There are still bad investments every day of the week, right? But if you're staying locked into grounded YouTube channels like ours and you're reading, really in-depth macro data like from Caleb Franson, and our friends over at the Piper Academy, you're staying locked into good, wholesome, educated folks, you should be straight, right? And you shouldn't be investing in too much crap. Of course, there's going to be something that makes it into your portfolio that underperforms or maybe even goes down, but that's why you want to diversify a little bit. So, Tim, you've had your rant. I've had my rant. We're getting some good rants going today.
Rants are fun.
I love it. Well, Bernstein has got a rant going here. We're going to get through this one pretty quick. Bitcoin ETF slowdown in a short-term pause, not the beginning of a negative trend, says Bernstein. I like to hear from Bernstein. Yes, they're TradFi, but oftentimes their opinions are right on. There is a natural gestation time to Bitcoin becoming an acceptable portfolio allocation recommendation, and the platforms establishing the compliance framework to sell the ETF products. Think Morgan Stanley, think Wells Fargo, think Bank of America, right? These guys are only now getting the green light to recommend. They've been able to be a broker and go buy Bitcoin ETFs on behalf of their clients, but to recommend it, to say, hey, Bob, I've been managing your account for 25 years. This Bitcoin stuff, it's kind of crazy, but it's real. It's the real deal. Do you want me to get you some exposure? Bob says yes, 5%, 2%, whatever it's going to be. Multiply that by all the 401k holders, pension funds, and sovereign wealth funds, and that's how you get a $200,000, $500,000, $800,000 Bitcoin. Doesn't stop there. Bernstein says its expectation of a Bitcoin cycle high by 2025 of 150,000 Bitcoin remains the same, as the unprecedented ETF demand inflows have further reinforced our conviction. So that's where the Hong Kong ETF does matter. We do want to see that be competitive. Of course, it's not going to put up the same numbers as the US. It might exceed it. That would be great, but we just don't want to see it flop. That's my opinion in kind of how those work together. Tether becomes major stakeholder in BlackRock Neurotech with $200 million investment. Not going to get into the details there, but wanted to bring it to your attention. Anytime we see BlackRock and a major stablecoin provider, that's not something we want to ignore. I have no idea what Neurotech is, so definitely do your own research, but this is an interesting... Now they'll be in the same boardrooms is kind of the point there. Moving along here, AVAX, Avalanche integrates with Stripe for fiat to crypto onboarding. Just a bullish headline here for AVAX, and it wasn't coming up on the crypto bubbles, but I think AVAX was green today on this news. I'm not sure.
No, I mean it's slightly up since the start of the day, but I think when you're looking at the last 24 hours. So since the day opened last night at 7 p.m., so hasn't quite been 24 hours, we're up 2%. So it is one of the few things that are kind of up there. Link's up as well, so is XRP, but 24 hours it was still in the red. I don't know, daily charts, that's throwing everything off, but yeah, and not probably that much in the red, but just a little bit.
Gotcha. And it looks like Core might have got in on this story as well. No, Avalanche's Core Portfolio app. I don't think that's the same thing as Core. But in this quotation, I had highlighted Core's integration with Stripe. So this is a product from AVAX, I believe, or Portfolio. Integration with Stripe is just another step that underscores our dedication to providing users with intuitive and streamlined solutions by further bridging the gap between crypto and fiat. Core continues to pave the way for seamless onboarding and broader customer adoption of digital currencies in everyday transactions. So Stripe, a big name in payment processing, going ahead and tapping AVAX in one way or another. Of course, last week, HBAR, BlackRock, what was it? Eroax or something was the name. That was a bit of a fiasco. Hopefully we don't get a rerun of this, but it looks like AVAX is not running up 100% to the upside on the news. So that's probably a good sign that the markets are a little more sober-minded about this potential bullishness. Well, Tim, we've got a factoid, and then we'll get into our question or our Q and answer session here. Are you ready to do it? Or do you want to get in these super chats?
Ooh, how many super chats did we get that we didn't read?
2.
I guess we had 2 of them. Let's do super chat and then factoid of the day. Nice Colt. You really prefer the nice ones to the ugly ones. Has the current macroeconomic situation changed your outlook on the cycle?
That's a big question.
Have you changed your forecast? Sorry, I tuned in late. Has the current macro? Our rants kind of addressed that a little bit, but I would say in a nutshell, a lot of the macroeconomic stuff has been clouds and mirrors. I'm not saying that it's illegit. I'm not saying there's my tinfoil hat does not say that all the wars going on are fake news and it's all been like they're all in a room somewhere acting this whole thing out. There's definitely tension, but there's been tension there for a long time. There's just fishiness as far as all of it goes. I haven't changed my long-term perspective of being bullish on crypto as a whole whatsoever.
So this is a big week for the macro, right? We've got the Fed decision on the 1st that will be announced. We also have the Treasury Department coming out with their bond issuance guidance, and also kind of the open demand for new bonds from institutions. That is going to play a big role in liquidity. So it's going to be it could potentially be a 1-2 punch from the Fed and the U.S. Treasury Department. We will see. It just depends. I mean, if they're both bullish or perceived as bullish by the market, that could be very bullish. If you get a little bit both ways, and the Treasury comes out and they're going to say, we're going to continue to issue bonds at the same or similar rate, right? But then the Fed says we're going to cut, those could cancel each other out. It'll be interesting to watch, and that I think we'll be earning our weight in gold trying to commentate in real time how that's going to all play out in the market. But the good thing is that the market is going to give us the ultimate answer of how those things should be perceived, because people are putting their money where their mouth is in markets, especially higher risk assets like crypto. We got another super chat here from Joe Bro, Tim.
Just saying, does yours say something else? Mine, I don't see anything.
Yeah, Joe Bro donating $5 said video game controller jumps up and down excitedly. That to me sounds really cool, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
I thought there was actual words. Yeah, he just sent a picture of a controller jumping up and down. Thank you, Joe Bro.
Oh, that's an emoji.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't words. Yeah, that's not what he wrote. But what did you think he meant by that, T-shirt?
I was.
You were about to BS your way out.
I was. What? We're having fun.
All right.
That's where I come down on that.
Let's get the factoid of the day.
Well, now Tim, today's factoid of the day is brought to you by who we trust, and that is Lux ALGO. You thought I was going to say iTrust Capital, didn't you? Lux ALGO is actually bringing you all today the factoid of the day. So Tim, let's jump on into it. What side of the road does traffic flow down in Japan? A, left, B, right, C, neither, which is very controversial, or is it D, Virginia Tech University?
Good point. I think it's the right. I think the Japan, when they were looking at Western culture, and because Japan of all the Asian countries really was the first to really go after the Western culture. And even though we were at once dire enemies, there's just something about the states that they fell in love with. I think that they looked at the Brits and said, y'all crazy driving on the left side of the road. And they said, we're going to go with the right decision and drive on the right side.
Okay. You locking it in?
Going B right. Well,
so close,
they're
Tim.
wrong then. It explains why their dollar's going down the tube.
You had me convinced, though. Driving side left for Japan. So there you go. Let's see what is this? His Emperor's Majesty reign.
Listen, we've learned a long time. Nope. Pause it. Turn it off. T-shirt.
Well,
copyright infringement is a thing
no,
that
it's
has hit us.
Their national anthem is probably in the public domain. I can't imagine that'd be copywritten. By who?
You don't know.
At the Corporation of Japan?
There are rules on the internet, T-Shroom, that we learned from one of our good friends, Frankie Candles. You do not hit play on videos while you're alive.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
You also, we have learned this for ourselves. You don't just play random songs because you don't know what will be copyrighted and what will not.
Wow. Well, so this is the most emotional you've seen the bros get. We don't get emotional in the trading terminal, but we get emotional when it comes to copyright. Because if we can't uphold the intellectual property rules and laws of the United States, then what do we have? You know, just chaos. So I appreciate it, Tim. It's not because you don't want the video to get taken down. You don't want to see the IP laws of America compromised.
Yeah.
At your own hands.
I love the IP laws of America. I pledge allegiance to the IP laws of America sometimes. All right, let's see. We gotta get into some Q&A here. Crypto Dave said neither. The island is flat so the traffic doesn't flow down. Play on words there. See what we did there. Warrior said that's why cars from Japan are right-hand drive. So the wheels on the right hand of the car. Okay. In case you guys didn't know, I've never been to Japan. I know there's a lot of other things. The reason I went with that logic, I'd never heard about cars, but I know there's a lot of other things that Japan has copied the U.S. in. So I figured that they copied us in our driving as well. But I was wrong.
You know why I knew that one, Tim?
You live and you learn. What?
I knew that one because of anime. I haven't watched a lot of anime.
See, I don't watch anime at all.
But the anime that I have seen, it was about like the British. It was about like British rule in Japan.
Okay.
And so that was my deduction, similar to how you use deduction in the factoid. I deduced that because I believe Japan was under the British Empire, wasn't it, for a little while?
So I don't know that much about Japan. I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch anime. I don't study Japan whatsoever. So it was a hard question for me. I had my logic there. Just my logic didn't check out. And you know that's all you have in this life is your logic.
That's right.
Everything else is fickle.
No, Japan was never a part of the British Empire.
See, we don't know anything. Tim doesn't know Goku. I'm taking TA from a guy who doesn't know Goku. I know who Goku is. I've heard the name. I just didn't watch the show. I mean, sorry. My mother did not let me watch anything that could have compromised my fast-growing brain. She said I was a sponge, and I could have become evil if I had watched anime.
Goku is from Dragon Ball Z, as they say in the UK.
Yes. And I know that when he gets like super powerful or angry or something, his hair turns blonde.
That's right.
So I know of things in the Dragon Ball Z world, but I don't know it that much. My friend in college tried to get me to watch One Punch Man. Listen, he loved it. So glowing reviews from him. I didn't understand it. I watched one episode and was like, nah, I'll watch The Office. So are you a One Punch Man type of person? Answer this in chat, or an Office type of person. You can answer two, T-shirt. You do.
What is One Punch? Is that an anime?
So you're an Office person.
Well, I've seen The Office probably 5 times all the way through at this point.
Good for you.
One Punch Man. It is an anime. Is it on Netflix? Is that what?
I think so.
One Punch Man.
He punches someone once and they die. So
it's on Prime Video. Okay.
Yeah.
In the U.S. at least. We have no affiliation with any of these.
No,
except
we
The
don't,
Office.
We don't. Username says neither. Give me Always Sunny any day. All right, here's what I'll say. I do like Always Sunny, but I would not take Always Sunny over The Office. Let's just make sure we get the priorities correct here. The Office is number 1. There is no TV show on this planet that takes the number 1 spot away from The Office. We can have a lot of debates about what falls into number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But number 1 is reserved for The Office. Case closed. Final. Gotcha. Have you heard good things about Caw Meme Token? I haven't. That's probably the first time I've ever heard of Caw Meme Token. There, Joe Bro. So I'm sorry about that one. Reno 911. I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes of that, Kyle. I don't think I've seen enough episodes to give a good It was funny.
It's great. The new boot
was
goofing
funny.
clip's great.
I just didn't give it enough time, I don't think. You guys look at SoFi earnings. No, T-Shroom, did you look at SoFi earnings?
So there's a lot of earnings. Amazon and Apple both have their earnings this week. I think Amazon reports after. The reality is that the most money to be made is in crypto right now, and most people who tune in, we know, don't really care too much about stocks.
Yeah.
That will be changing, when the bull market comes to an end in crypto. But we are so far from that that I'm, we don't. Could we cover earnings? We could. I think we covered Google's earnings last week or Tesla's earnings and Facebook. So yeah, but no.
You'll see here. More questions. El Thoro says, ASI thoughts. Well, my thoughts, El Thoro, is this. I like ASI, even though it doesn't exist just yet. If those of you don't know what ASI is going to be the token when Fetch, Ocean, and Singularity Net, or AGIX, when they come together, they'll become ASI. I really go back and forth, and I'm interested in your thought here, T-Shroom. I really go back and forth between which one I think will make it long-term, or which one will be better. Let's not say make it. I think they both make it. I've been on record by saying I think Render is going to be the number one AI token. It's going to pass. I think it's going to pass Near, although Near has been doing phenomenal recently. So I'm not trying to FUD Near. I think people will make money in Near investments, but I think that Render has a good relationship with NVIDIA. I think if you were to ask executives at NVIDIA what their favorite altcoin for AI is, they're probably saying Render. I think that's the one they have the best relationship with. ASI will have dynamics of expertise from 3 different teams. I really do believe the name of the guy that he was the AGIX CEO, used to work with Cardano. Do you remember his name?
About.
Is it Ben? Ben? Man, I'm blanking on his last name. The dude is a freaking wizard. He's so smart. He is extremely intelligent. And I'm blanking on his last name. Someone might say it in chat. I really think that there's some special
Ben Goertzel.
Goertzel, yeah. I think the team with Ben Goertzel, and I can't remember the name of the other CEOs, but especially the one from Fetch, you got some great minds working together. They might be some of the greatest tech. Will they outdo the market cap and be a better investment? I haven't decided yet, but do not sleep on ASI and the things that they're going to put out. Will be some of the top-notch AI that will most likely will be the robots that end up unaliving us in our sleep. But there's money to be made there.
But there's money to be made. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Tim, I on the 9 a.m. stream, I was asking the question because some people are thinking that Bitcoin is topped out. But I was asking the question. Well,
some people also think the world is flat still. So
where are we in the cycle? And one of the references we've pulled up to answer that is this image here, which is this phase path to alt season, which is what we're all kind of here for in one sense or another. And that is right now, in my estimation, we're in the second part of the phase overlap from phase 1 to phase 2, where Ethereum goes back and forth with Bitcoin and starts outperforming it, right? So I think we're in the first part of this sentence where Ethereum goes back and forth and has not started outperforming. It certainly is not starting to hear talks of flippening. And apparently, in phase 2, that is a major hallmark. Nobody is saying that Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin, but that will be said. And that will be said in a high volume that will be noticeable. And that's how we will know that we are no longer in phase 1 and that we're somewhere in between phase 2 and the transition into phase 3. So Tim, looking at the Bitcoin chart, we started, and the reason I was bringing this up, because over the weekend we did see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. No talks of flippening, but we did see, a moment of Ethereum kind of fulfilling that prophecy in some sense. So when you look at Bitcoin's chart, the question is, where are we? And it's tempting to think that we're kind of here, right? That we're here, and then we're going to see a big dip to the downside, 50%. Then we're going to come up and make a marginally higher high, and then it's going to be back down into the bear market. But the reality is we are not here, in my opinion, right? Here, you're hearing Ethereum flippening, right? You're starting to hear your favorite altcoin, Caspa, is going to flip Bitcoin. ICP is going to flip Bitcoin. That's what you're hearing up here, right? Because Bitcoin has slowed and money is taking profit out of Bitcoin and going and buying the next Bitcoin, The altcoins, alternative to what? Alternative to Bitcoin. Okay, but Bitcoin has not played out its bull run yet. We are, in my approximation, we're somewhere around here, right? The bear market is behind us. We're likely not going to put in new lows, and so now it's up from here, right? We don't know how high, we don't know for how long, we don't know how long until the high, the all-time high for this cycle will be. But do not be confused, and do not listen to some crypto analysts who are saying, we've topped out. Is there a chance we've topped out?
There's a chance of everything.
There's a chance, but based on all of the historic data that I've seen, it would be very foolhardy to think that we've topped out.
The issue is there's a chance of anything, really. There's a chance all of a sudden Bitcoin just stays at the same price for the rest of eternity. Is that likely? No, not at all. But it's a chance. There's a chance that the Bitcoin bull market top is in, but the probability, which is what ultimate investment is all about, it's about investing your money based off of what's most probable. The probability is very slim, in my opinion, that the bull market top is in. I've told you guys, I think sideways for a while, even if we pull out to 48K really is sideways action. It just is. That's not what people want to think, but it is. It would be like a 40% pullback, which is not a big deal when it comes to bull markets that have explosive tokens like Bitcoin. We trade sideways, and then it takes off again late summer, early fall. Altcoins, they're going to be rallying this whole time, but then as T-Shroom said, there's phases to this. I think that you see altcoins kind of go parabolic and nuts probably closer to December of 2024. That'll last months, and then we'll kind of balance out. We'll kind of readjust, and I think that the bull markets ultimately top sometime late summer, early fall of 2025. That is when you make your decision. Do I want to take profit? Do I want to move everything to Bitcoin and just hold Bitcoin for the long haul? Because that's another thing. We've run way past time, but anyone who studies the history of how things work, especially now that Bitcoin is going to have an ETF. And Ethereum, we haven't gotten it yet, but I think there is still that thought of like, it's when, not if. I know I saw an article today that Gary Gensler actually has been secretly calling Ethereum a security for like a year now. Yeah. I don't care. He's going to lose. He can call it a security if he wants to. He's going to get his butt kicked just like every other wrong opinion he's had in the last 2 years. Right. So there's going to be an Ethereum ETF. And what happens with ETFs is the markets mature and we won't see these terrible pullbacks. I mean, gold, since the ETF, gold had one period from September of 2011 to the fall of 2015, I want to say, where it took 4 years of a lot of downward action of 50%. But that was it. That was the most extreme fallback for gold. And I think that's going to hold up. I've gone on record and I'm going to repeat it. Bitcoin, guys, wherever we top out, 170, 200, 250, 300, worst case scenario, in my opinion, 50% pullbacks. What does that mean? That means as long as Bitcoin, in my opinion, is under $100, you should be buying it. When you get over $100, now you can start to ask the question, will I ever get a chance to buy this level again? I think there's a chance you will at $100,000. But 70,000, 60,000, 80,000, 90,000, once we go up and above that, I do not believe you will get another chance to buy that level ever again for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just one real quick nugget, guys. If you're not subscribed to Taylor Shrum, T-Shroom, over on Twitter, you should be. Because I put out this alpha today. I sold Tesla for $233 back in January. Dumped my full position when the price could not flip into support, an old downtrending line of resistance. I just started nibbling back at the levels that we're at today, $196. Don't buy on up days, but nibbling is just fine, is what I said there. So a little bit of alpha if you stayed all the way to the end of the stream. Thank you so much for watching and listening. It's been a real pleasure.
I told everybody, if you stay to the end, we're going to announce our winners. So hopefully, we're going to tell them in Discord as well. But the two winners of our giveaway, again, if you were wondering why, we are growing very, very fast. We've gained more than 4,000 subscribers in the last 28 days. And every time we hit a new 1,000 subscriber mark, we give away $100 to one of our members in Discord. It's a free Discord. You guys can go right now. We had you guys comment Beards of Wisdom. If you don't know why, you got to go back and watch the Friday show. But our 2 winners this time. Number 1, just drum roll. Moho is our first winner. Going to collect $100. We're going to reach out to Moho in chat. Our second winner is Crypto Meme. Crypto Meme and Moho, the 2 winners for the $14,000 and $15,000, or 15,000 subscribers. Thank you to every single one of you guys. It was a long show today. It is 4:20. Go do something with your life at 4:20, but I'm not trying to make a joke there. Have fun. We're going to go. I don't know what I'm saying now. We're going to see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. Check out the 9 a.m. show. With that said, we love you guys. Adi.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.
Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.